Many Indian students view an international education as a pathway to success, both in their personal and professional lives. Studying abroad provides them with a chance to expand their horizons, gain exposure to diverse cultures and perspectives, and acquire valuable skills and knowledge that can help them stand out in a highly competitive global job market. For many, pursuing an education overseas is a dream come true, and they are willing to work hard and make sacrifices to achieve it. Welcome to the 4th episode of Australian Government and Study Australia present Australian Edge for India's Century in partnership with Times Network. And today we focus on Australia from India's lens, high achievers from the diaspora. We have with us today Professor Veena Sahajwala, Australian Research Council Laureate, University of New South Wales. We have Meetu Bhaumik Longe, Founder Director, Mind-Blowing Films, and Vic Singh, Program Director, Australian Trade and Investment Commission. Thank you so much, all three of you, for being on the panel here with me. Let's kickstart our discussion. This is actually for all of you, but we'll start off with Meetu. You know, as successful individuals who have studied, worked, or lived in Australia, can you discuss how your experiences have shaped your perspectives on the opportunities available to Indians in Australia?
I came here in 2002 and I was working in the television industry in India. And, you know, at that time it was really robust and a great career in television in India. And when I came here, India was not as hot and as happening as it's now. So job opportunities were slim. However, over the years, what I have seen is how the Indian diaspora has grown, the government engagement with India, both here and in India, has grown, which has led to a lot of positive outcomes, especially as far as tourism is concerned, as far as the community here is concerned, as far as the wide student population studying here is concerned. Indians are very truly integrated. They're a big part of the multicultural fabric of Australia. And to be honest with you, we have embraced our Indian-Australian identity beautifully, I feel.
I think that's an amazing insight, and that's really heartwarming to hear. Vic, if I could get you in on the same question.
Absolutely, Sumita. I was just going to jump in and say, absolutely echo what Meetu said there. My story was slightly different. I arrived in the early 2000s as well as an international student from India. And in fact, I bucked the trend. I had a lot of my friends who were heading off to the US and UK, but I chose Australia as my destination of choice. Probably the best move I've ever made. The moment I landed in Melbourne, you could see that Australia was a warm, welcoming and safe destination for international students. I think the experiences that I had at university, the odd jobs, the part-time jobs I had to do to you know, I guess, gain that extra experience while I was studying, and the opportunities afforded to me after I finished my studies have really helped shape the individual that I am today. So extremely grateful that I chose Australia, and yeah, very pleased to call myself an Indian Australian.
Veena, coming to you with the same question, your thoughts?
Yeah, look, I mean, you know, you think about all the opportunities that, you know, I can just imagine for any Indian who's coming to Australia and who's excited about creating, you know, all those fabulous experiences. Like in my case, you know, the opportunity to work in the field where I can care for the environment, recycling, manufacturing, all of that was something that I could have never imagined, could have never dreamt of, the incredible opportunities that have come out of my experience here at UNSW at the Smart Centre. And I think to me, for any Indian who's coming to Australia to think about how they could work in this place, there are endless possibilities. And there are possibilities to really imagine how you could shape a future, you know, particularly when people want to think about their long-term career prospects, no matter where you live. You know, the experiences you have, you know, actually allow you to create friendships, which has been fantastic in my case. You have an opportunity to work with amazing people in Australia. It's a great place to live, to work, to create friends for life. And I think, to me, caring for communities, caring for our environment, caring for people, those are some of those fundamental values that I think we all as human beings on this planet really care about. So I think the opportunities to really come and have those experiences when you live in Australia are endless.
Lovely. That's great to hear. Meetu, you know, but how do you see the relationship between India and Australia evolving in the coming years, particularly if we talk about maybe employment opportunities for Indians in Australia? What's your thoughts?
I think, you know, the biggest advantage that that Australia and India have is that we have a lot of common shared passions, whether it's for cricket, whether it's we are Commonwealth country, whether it's we are both very being robust democracies. Plus, English is very commonly spoken in India, and English is the principal language in Australia, which also helps. And Australia has been very welcoming towards the Indian workforce, Indian student force, Indian immigrants who move here. Not just Indians, but also from the subcontinent. I can talk to you about my industry. We distribute Indian films in Australia, New Zealand, and Fiji. And when I moved here, it was a real job to find a place and watch a film. Today, we have pretty much every cinema in Australia screening Indian films, not just Bollywood, but also Marathi, Tamil, Telugu, Punjabi films. That is a testament to show how integrated Indian culture, Indian language, Indian diaspora is to the mainstream.
And Vic, you know, I want to take this ahead with you because, you know, from your personal experience of having studied there, worked there as well, how can Australian universities and businesses best leverage the talents and skills of Indian students as well as professionals? What opportunities do you see emerging in that area?
Firstly, I think Australia embraces that international student. I think, you know, the international students come in with different perspectives, different viewpoints, and really add to the diversity of what a student learns. I mean, what you learn in the classroom is one thing. What you learn by discussing and speaking to your classmates is another. You know, we have many programs in play, and you know, work integrated learning is a big part of you know, how we learn in Australia. You know, for example, I can pinpoint one program which we've launched as the Australian government called the Study Australia Industry Experience Program. That really allows students that are studying, and it actually came about during COVID when they were, you know, studying remotely and weren't possibly having the best experience, but it allowed students to come in and work in groups with other Indian and international and domestic students and really work on real life programs. So, you know, it was a 2-week project. You got exposed to potential employers and just hugely successful. So I think if we continue to offer this opportunity for students, Indian students and other international students and domestic students to really be exposed to that business environment early in their study journey, I think that's one really good way to be successful, because you know you graduate and you've already got some experience under your belt.
So true, and it's really important that these future leaders learn these different perspectives in life. So it's not that they have a kind of a tunnel vision, but they get to see so much, they get to learn so much. Veena, if I could bring you in, how do you see India and Australia collaborating to address shared challenges and foster greater innovation and growth in the education and employment sectors?
Yeah, look, I think, you know, when you think about all those challenges that the world is facing, and it's really about, you know, reflecting on those environmental challenges and you know, but also not just seeing that, you know, as just a challenge, but rather seeing that as a brand new opportunity. The fact that, you know, you look at how we can, you know, shape the sector that you want to work in, or the sector that you want to study in, whether it's in Australia or in India, and how the two countries can collaborate, taking technological advances, scientific advances, and that whole science, technology, engineering, and maths, that whole STEM area. You look at the various solutions that, for example, we've been developing in creating innovative products like our green ceramics. We've actually, if I may share this particular sample that I have in my hand, this beautiful piece of green ceramic that we've produced in our own microfactory here at UNSW. These are the kinds of examples that show that it's possible to take those challenges that we're facing in our environment. I think, to me, opportunities are there. They are there because we can actually recognize some of the important challenges that lay ahead for our planet. And I think, to me, the thing that was really humbling in all of this was, if I may share, perhaps the opportunity that I've been given in Australia to inspire future generations, those that are interested in STEM. So I was actually featured in one of these beautiful series of Aussie STEM stars. And I think the fact that this talks a little bit about, our work as doing recycling in Australia, but also, excitingly, I'm happy to say that it also tracks all the way back to the early part of my childhood growing up in Mumbai, and how some of those experiences have shaped me today, and my vision, of recycling is something that shows that the connectivity and the experiences you have in life are so important.
As we wind up this part of the conversation, what do you see as the most important factors driving success for Indians seeking to study, work, or live in Australia? And how can individuals and institutions best prepare for these challenges and opportunities?
Everybody has a unique story, and I think Australia gives you the opportunity to break the mold and not just follow what you've seen from a friend or from a peer. Everyone jots their own way. I think universities and institutions in Australia are already doing well in getting the message across. We've got, one of the fastest growing regions in terms of applications from Indian students for Australia, but we've also got some very generous things to offer. Post-study work, for example, we've got one of the most generous post-study work provisions that really gives Indian students and other international students the opportunity to really apply the skills that they've learned at university or at an institution. We've got very well-ranked universities, and you'd have seen from some of the previous episodes, how strong the academia is. We've got 7 of our universities in the top 100 and almost 2/3 in the top 500 globally. So, I think that really demonstrates that for a small country with a small number of universities and institutions, we're actually doing really well in our field. And, we've got universities that lead in their kind of chosen field. So absolutely, I think the message is out there. We've got the opportunity for Indian students to take advantage of what Australia has to offer.
So true and well on point. And as they say, ladies and gentlemen, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So it's great to hear from people who've actually studied there, who are living there, to see how the Australian education can work in hand with Indian students and can be of benefit for them. Well, it's time for a break here, and it's time as we close this part of the discussion, I'd like to thank Veena, thank you Meetu, and thank you Vic for coming on board for Australian Government and Study Australia present Australian Edge for India's Century in partnership with Times Network. To our viewers, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this short break. Welcome back to Australian Government and Study Australia present Australian Edge for India's Century in partnership with Times Network. This year's edition has brought forward some critical points in the field of education between both countries. Access to quality education combined with a vibrant cultural blend and interaction with the widespread diaspora ensures students are future ready, and these dialogues and insights have surely brought forward the immense opportunities education in Australia offers. Take a look at the most noteworthy highlights from this year's series.
We are really celebrating across the spectrum of our endeavours, focusing specifically on the trade and economic relationship, but also on energy and renewable energy in particular, and in the national security and defence fields. As our Foreign Minister has said, a strong Indo-Pacific requires a strong India, and Australia is just delighted to partner with India as we take that forward.
For the business relationship, I mean, we are now in a position where there is a basic complementarity between our two economies. And by that, I mean many of the things a growing Indian economy is going to need, Australia is well positioned to help provide. So I think we'll see an economic relationship that will grow strongly. I think it'll be buttressed by an investment relationship between the two countries, because for both of us, investment is fundamental to our economic growth strategies.
Australia over the years has emerged as one of those centers that caters to, in fact, has the capabilities to respond to this Indian hunger of knowledge, of education, of skills. But we need to start thinking big. I think we cannot reduce the education partnership to just 100,000 or 200,000 Indians studying in Australia or going to Australia every year for that. We need to start thinking about millions. And for that, we need to start onshoring Australian universities into the Indian mainland, where a much larger cohort is able to avail of these opportunities.
In the really close relationship our education ministers have developed between each other. So Dharmendra Pradhan here in India and Minister Jason Clare in Australia, they've met now on at least 3 occasions, 2 in person, and they really encapsulate the opportunity for both countries through these, through the reforms here in India, encapsulated by the national education policy, and Australia's long experience of partnering internationally with many countries, and in many cases, trilaterally as well. They really encapsulate this opportunity as educating people for the world.
While our governments come together in all of these new projects, and we're seeing opportunities in everything from collaboration in foreign branch campuses here in India, right through to research collaborations, the likes that we see with IIT Delhi and UQ, or with IIT Bombay and Monash University, for example. The opportunities are immense and across such a broad spectrum. Then we also have an opportunity to synergize between India's natural advantages and ours. And one of the things that I really think will be important is the energy transition and the opportunity for Australia and India to actually develop our economies to benefit all, but with a lower carbon footprint.
Australia has made itself a very attractive place to go. It's an incredibly safe destination. It is a multicultural country that you will literally, if you're from India or quite frankly from anywhere in Southeast Asia, you're going to find a huge diaspora here. Some who have been here many generations. And so it makes it feel like something where you belong. But the government's willingness to really support students so that they have a great time here, I think is important. So, if you come and do for example, a bachelor's degree, you get 4 years work rights. And so that's quite attractive because it means you can, kind of carry on if that's what you want to do.
So the fundamentals have to be in place. High quality faculty, people who are well trained, and indeed many Australians will have degrees, or many people who are teaching in Australia will come from around the world, and many Australians like myself will have trained overseas at some point in their time. So we really get people who understand global best practice here in Australia. So if you come to Australia, your learning and teaching experience will probably not just be the old-fashioned lecturer up the front reciting the textbook to you. You'll get opportunities to engage with other students, and those students will come from around the world.
The ESOS Act, an Act of Parliament for education services for overseas students, that means that a student is protected from the moment that they engage in a conversation about Australian education and until the time that they complete their study. They're protected within Australia, and it's quite a unique a unique set of circumstances in which a student can come to Australia, have a safe, warm, and top quality experience in one of the leading universities in the world. Australian institutions are really engaged with industry to provide Indian industry experience projects. They're doing research with industry, and that research is turning into commercial opportunities. They're running all kinds of incubation centres within the universities, and then for many institutions too, actually running programs that specifically support and turn those commercial ideas into reality.
So Australia is such an international university sector. It's the largest export market in Australia, is engaging with international students. So we've got a really diverse and engaged student population that's from around the world, and they go out and they build a global perspective for our students. Whatever area you come to study in Australia, you will engage with companies and industry across your sector, whether it's health, whether it's business, whether it's technology. And I think those engagements mean that our students are more adaptable, more engaged, and more able to compete in a really challenging international market.
What Australian universities are good at is actually updating their content to be real world relevant. And I think that's the reason Australia is a really good choice for Indian students. Employing students that are graduates from Australia actually saves a lot of cost, saves a lot of time, because your internship period is not 3 years, you're running within 3 months.
Now, we all have heard India's story for the last 8 to 10 odd years. It is a truly transformational story where the social structure, economics, and good politics and good governance are kind of working together. We are looking at somewhere around 1 billion odd people who are below the age of 35. We have a very large populace which is just ready to make a dent in the industry, academia, or other sectors as well. What we need to deliver in this country is democratize education, and that to be, bringing in the international courses and making sure that we are not just focusing on the top 7 cities of India, but going to tier 2, 3, and 4 cities as well.
The fantastic thing about the collaboration between the Indian people and the Australian people is we both understand the power of education deep in our guts. We understand the power of education to raise people at a disadvantage, but also to propel growth and to propel growth sustainably. So this is a fantastic partnership. We're really pleased to see another one of our great world-class universities, the University of Wollongong, has been approved this week also to have a presence in Gift City, and very much looking forward to how that develops.
Yes, it is a momentous achievement in the Australia-India relationship, especially in the bilateral knowledge collaboration between our two countries. It is a testament of success of the intrinsic partnerships across academia, industry, and government that Deakin University has been forging in India for the last 3 decades. But this is a momentous occasion for us, symbolic of achieving holistic understanding of the ever-dynamic evolution and needs of the Indian ecosystem. I think it's very important. Also, I think the Gift City initiative, one of its kind in India, is a very new pathway for foreign universities to work with India, in India, for India, which is what Deakin believes it is going to be doing through this partnership.
So there is huge trajectory in what India is looking at, and that's being reflected in India's skilling policies across the national education policy that commits to 50% of tertiary and secondary students having touch points with vocational education, the University Grants Commission, the Sector Skill Council, and a number of other areas where India is really pushing towards enhancing its workforce and taking charge of this growth. The innovation now I'd like to speak about is Australian vocational education and training. It is world-class, and what makes it different and innovative is that it's designed for industry, by industry. So it's very common that Australian providers have partnered with the likes of Microsoft, AWS, and other tech companies to design business courses and units.
Personally, I feel that since the pandemic, the way of doing business has changed in India and all over the world. And just as much as students, even working professionals need to learn the new way of doing business. And there is a huge opportunity for upskilling because each one of us needs to update ourselves. Having said that, I feel that the government needs to come out with more proactive and conducive policies so that industry and academia can work together to understand the requirements of these changing trends, number one. Number two is also be able to update the curricula and the syllabus so that what is delivered in the form of skilling through technology, through EdTech, is relevant to the latest job roles and the requirements of skills and competencies in the industry.
Our own institute was one of the first to sign a joint venture with Maruti Suzuki, obviously your largest car manufacturer in India, and the government of Gujarat. And it was about 10 years ago that Maruti Suzuki came out to Australia, saw what best practice vocational education looked like in automotive and said, we want one of these in India, and went about the long-term task of creating a new centre. And as part of that innovation and partnership with us, they've been able to design their centre based on a model that works very well here in Australia. They've expanded on that. They've got a real focus, of course, on manufacturing. And we have helped train their trainers and also sold our curriculum. So, sharing in best practice is where the innovation comes from. And equally from that, of course, we've learned so much through that relationship. And so we've taken some of those learnings about manufacturing back here to Australia. So it's always of mutual benefit when there's great partnerships.
Well, that's all on this episode of Australian Government and Study Australia present Australian Edge for India's Century in partnership with Times Network. We hope you've enjoyed all the different perspectives that have been put forward by all our experts on this series. Thank you so much for watching.